Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Enlightened Life. I'm your host, Scott Allan. So, a lot of people have been sending in questions, things that they wanted to have answers to about the world, politics, the royal family. And generally, I would say that's not something I've ever done. I've not really ever weighed into this stuff, but I feel like things are starting to shift again. I've been getting a lot of downloads and a lot of messages, and I wanted to share it with you. So, I've got a list of questions. These are kind of the big ones. And if you want to send me your questions, I'll do this again. Feel free, send them to Scott at mediumscottallan.com, Allan. Also, want to have you just remind you to please subscribe to my channel, hit the notifications bell so that you won't miss an episode of The Enlightened Life or anything else that we're doing here on the show. So I'm going to start out, just go through the questions, and I'll give you what I get. Will there be a peaceful resolution to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine? I think you're going to see it slow down a bit. I think there will be a little bit of what appears to be a resolution. I feel it's not permanent. My team is telling me that things are not going to last in that sort of peaceful reign. I think there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be conflict going on for years, but off and on. Is there a global shift in power happening behind the scenes? You know what? This feels to me like a cycle. We're in a cycle where things are going to eventually level off. But with that, there's a shift in power. But it doesn't feel permanent to me. I think that, you can see this cyclical thing happen. You'll see that a certain party will get into power and then another party will get into power. We're on a shift, and we've been on a shift for quite a few years now. And I do see that turning around, but like everything else, I don't see it permanent. Although I will say, I think people are starting to wake up to a greater consciousness, and I see that happening on a wider scale. And I can feel it even on a personal level. Even on a personal level, I feel like the energy is changing so much, which is partly why I'm doing this video. I expect changes. I'm just reluctant to tell you that they are going to be permanent, but I do think that people are waking up. Will the U.S. see a significant third party political movement? I got to tell you, I don't see it happening in any real significant way. I think they will try. I don't think it's going to get any real motion, at least in the next 10 to 15 years. I don't see it happening in any big way. What is the future of the British monarchy? So, I really think that the monarchy is here to stay. I believe it's going to continue on. I see it somehow being much less ceremonial in terms of the pomp and circumstance. I think it will be more ceremonial in terms of its purpose, but less in terms of the pomp and circumstance than it has been in the last 70 plus years. I feel like you're going to see this change when William comes into office, which I do think is really interesting. I don't think William is going to come in when Charles dies. I think William's going to come in when Charles is too sick to work. But there will sort of be this dual role. You'll have the king and you'll have the prince, or you'll have the king who has abdicated and then William will move up. But I feel like they will be together kind of reigning over the kingdom. But I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. I would say within the next 5 years, I see this probably happening. And then I think you're going to see the monarchy modernized. I think it's going to feel very different. My team is telling me it's not going to look exactly like it looks now. Still revered, but much more updated and much more modern. Will Prince Harry and Meghan Markle ever return to their royal duties? Not as a couple. My team is telling me not as a couple. I know this is going to be sad for some people. I do see some relationship issues going on with a couple. I think there will be some return to England for Harry surrounding his father's illness. I don't see him coming in as a full-time working royal anytime soon. But I think there's going to be a lot of things going on for he and Meghan that's going to separate them, plus his father's illness. So are there extraterrestrials actively visiting Earth now? Yes, and I think they've been here for a while. They are. Have the governments made contact with beings from other worlds? Yes, in fact, I think that there are conversations with them, but I see them being different. Like anything else, There are good people, there are bad people, there are good aliens, there are bad aliens. I think the good ones come, and those are the ones that we're communicating with, and we're learning from them. What is the real reason behind the recent UFO disclosures? My team tells me it's just to let the pressure out of the pot, to help quell the suspicions, because people are talking about it. I think if we don't give them something, then it's going to look like it's just we're hiding something, but we're giving them little pieces of information in the hopes that it will keep them happy. I think that's only temporary. Are crop circles messages from another intelligence? Yes. My team is telling me that the aliens are leaving here, leaving us signs because they want us to know that they're here. Will we see undeniable proof of alien life in our lifetime? We already have it. We do. It will become much more apparent within the next decade or so. Do extraterrestrials influence human technology? Yes, in the sense that we learn from them. We have learned technology and are using top secret technology in the military that we have learned from the extraterrestrials. Are some people actually star seeds or have off planet origins? They are, and they're here. My team tells me that some of us living here as humans are already mixed race. This has been going on for a while. So will AI ever develop true consciousness? I don't see that in the human sense, but I will say that it's going to be very, very close, that you will have a hard time understanding the difference between human and AI when it comes to what you're responding with. Are there hidden technologies that could change the world but are being suppressed? Yes, for profit. Although, I do see some of this coming out in the next 5 or 6 years, and we could be talking about things like medications. I think we're going to see this coming around when it comes to health related things. And actually, the next question was, will we see breakthroughs in health or longevity soon? I kind of see a new emergency popping up, which will bring forth some of these hidden technologies. I don't see it as a pandemic like we just went through in 2020, but I do see this being a kind of like a measles thing. I don't see that becoming a full blown pandemic like it was back in the day, but I feel like we're going to have to pull the big guns out. And that's going to be tapping into technology that we have and have developed in order to get through and make that go away. Is there a universal life review process for everyone? I believe that there is. My team tells me that there is. I just don't think it's what we think about. I think the review happens, but the judgment comes from ourselves. It comes from us. And, we cross and our brain, mind, our thoughts are completely open. We understand how everything we did has a ripple effect, good and bad, right? And so that judgment is coming from in here. It's from us. And it's the understanding that we helped, we hurt, how we lived our lives affected other people. Do we choose our families before birth? Yeah, my team tells me that we do. And we've been with our families in different roles in different lifetimes. So your mother today could have been your sister in another life. Our pets reunited with us in the afterlife. Yes, 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 yes. They come through in readings all the time. Dogs, cats, horses, you name it, they come through. I remember I'd gone to Catholic school and I was in Catholic school my whole life. And I remember a Catholic priest telling me that pets did not go to heaven because they don't have souls. I was devastated. And I had just lost, as a child, I just lost a dog. And that was really bothersome that I would never see this pet again. I'm telling you, they come through. I see them in readings all the time. So they absolutely, positively do go to heaven and reunite with us on the other side. Can people really receive messages from loved ones in dreams? Yes, because any kind of spiritual work like this, you have to stop your mind. You have to stop, clear out the day, and be at a point where your brain, your mind, your consciousness is open to the messages that are coming through, right? So when you're in bed, what better way because your mind is stopped. Everything has slowed down. When I do a reading, I have to slow my brain down. I have to just kind of clear out the day. So it absolutely does happen. You just have to recognize that that's what it is and be open to it. Are near death experiences glimpses of the real afterlife? So I want to say that a near death experience is just that. However, what it is not is a death experience. I've not had one myself. Every person I know that has had one talks about this unconditional love, beauty, and not wanting to come back. I believe we are so close, we can feel it. It's like walking into the freezer, to get something, you can feel the cold as you get to it, or getting near the oven, you can feel the heat radiating from it. I feel like as you get so close to that door, you can just feel all of the beauty and the love that emanates from it. That is what I think people are experiencing, but they're turned around and they're sent back. I do think we are getting glimpses of what really happens after you pass. Do spirits ever regret choices made in their earthly lives? Yes, they do. I mean, that's the judgment, right? That is the judgment that they bring upon themselves. And I think to a certain extent is why they come through in readings, because sometimes the message is, look, I'm sorry I did this. I'm sorry I lived this way. Or you are carrying grief because of something I did or because of how I passed. And I want you to know that I'm okay. So they do. They carry that regret with them. It's not a regret that stops them from living in the fullness of this afterlife and the beauty and enjoying the beauty, but they still love us and care about us on the other side. Are there spirit guides for everyone or just a few? I believe that there are, that we all have spirit guides. And I also am made to believe that you have your main guides, but then there are others that can come in for certain purposes. When you need a little extra help in at certain points in your life. Why are anxiety and depression so prevalent in modern society? As I sat and I kind of processed this a little bit, I think it's a number of different things. It's the hormones we're on, the stress levels we have. And when I say the hormones, I mean, it's in our food. It's everywhere. You can't escape it. So it's all of these medications, hormones, and stress levels that are so high. I think that is why this is so prevalent. But again, we're on a shift. And I want you to keep an eye out over the next 5 to 10 years and see how we kind of come back down a little bit. People are learning to breathe. They're learning meditation. They are getting to a point where they just take a deep breath and go, let's focus on the things that matter and get rid of all the things that don't serve us well. Will there be a major shift in human consciousness soon? Oh, yes. And we've alluded to this. We are waking up. I see it and I can feel that energy myself. I can feel it now. Even, I've had my spiritual awakening, but I'm having it another time. I'm having a different one. I'm getting things differently, which is why I'm sitting here with you sharing these predictions, because I feel like this is part of what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to share these messages that I've been just sort of hoarding, feeling like this wasn't something I do. I feel like it's time. We are waking up as a civilization. Will there be another global pandemic in the next decade? I don't see that per se. But as I mentioned earlier, I think there's going to be a significant uprising. I think that's something we're going to see more and more of, and that people are going to have to sit up and pay attention to this, which is where I think some of those technologies and things are going to come out to help fight this. I don't see it getting to a point like it was at before, but I feel that I think we're going to lose the elimination status of that. And I think people are going to pay attention. Are there any upcoming scientific discoveries that'll change our understanding of reality? I don't know about discoveries that will change it. I think there's a lot happening in this world right now that will, um, I think our shift what we believe about climate change, I believe is going to change. I think that there will be a bigger understanding of how important it is. I also think we are going to, as wonderful as AI can be, we are going to come to an understanding as well that that is not reality, that there are ways to use it, but we have to be more in touch with reality and more in touch with ourselves. I don't know that I see it as a discovery, but I see it more as a mindset moving forward. Is humanity on track to solve climate change? Not yet, and I wish we were. It's one of those things that I think about, but again, I'm not sitting here worried and stressed over it because I know we're in that cycle, and I feel like the energy is changing. Just telling you, hang on, hang on. Things are coming around, and I think we're going to be there. In again, we're in that 5 to 10 year mark. I feel like at that point, you're going to see, you know, everything kind of shift and things are going to start to change and technologies will be implemented and people will be more mindful of this. I also want to talk a little bit about um, how people are going to wake up to that kind of thing too. It's just going to become too obvious that we have to do something. So just keep an eye out for that. You'll start to see it in the next few years. Will there be a new spiritual movement that sweeps the globe? Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's happening. We talked about it. It keeps happening. All these questions keep coming up, and I think that's because people are feeling it. They want to know the truth. What is one thing most people aren't aware of, but should be preparing for? I really think that it's nothing bad. What they're telling me is that don't spend your time worrying about things that are temporary because all of this, even if it feels permanent, the state of our politics, the state of the world, whatever it is a cycle and it will change. And it will change. And the world is going to continue to evolve. And there will always be those outsiders, and we don't all have to agree. That's just kind of how it is. But I do think that we need to be aware that this is temporary and we should just get ready because good things are coming. They are still coming. So thanks for spending this time with me. And please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, hit the little button at the bottom. I appreciate you. And if you like this, give me a thumbs up. Let me know. I'm happy to do more. Please feel free to send in your questions if you have any, because I will do it again. But I appreciate you. We'll see you next time right here on the Enlightened Life.